what a conversation that was. And for the moment, anyways, not to worry. We'll have a part 2 of that tomorrow. It's come up to 11:34. That's what the time says. And we are set again to bring you yet another interesting conversation with yet another interesting guest on the biggest power radio show. When I say power, it's not power to the people like political power. I'm talking about energy show on radio. It's called Power Solutions. If you have been a regular listener, you would know that every Monday at this time, you either hear my voice or that of Dr. Weberbois. And yes, today is not an exception. The only thing is that Weber is out and Jade is in. Who's Jade? Jade will be introducing herself to you in a special way, but she's one lady you want to meet. When she walked in, I was like, Weber, I'm tired of you. Don't come back. Just let her be. But, I don't mean that. Just kidding. And Jade will be co-hosting this segment with me today for the first time. And I am looking forward to this amazing experience. Jade, how are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. Good morning, Teke, and good morning, Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes, indeed. I mean, how does it feel to be in the studio?
It's exciting. This is actually like my third time of stepping in for Weber.
For Weber, but I mean with me.
With you, yes, it's the first time.
Absolutely.
I was looking forward to Teke the Voice. That's why I call you in the office. I'm like Teke the Voice. So it's an honor to be here this morning.
Great. I mean, you have an amazing voice, and yeah, you're beautiful.
Oh my God, thank you. You guys can send in applications.
Please send it. Just pass it through me and I have to screen it. Anyways, we are not here to give ourselves pleasantries or just talk about how we feel being in the studio. We do have a special guest who will be discussing yet another interesting topic. Jade, you want to let us into that?
Yes, so it's good to be here. This morning we're going to be talking to a very interesting gentleman. His name is Sean Melbourne. Is the head of climate change and energy, West Africa, and he works for the British High Commission. Hello, Sean. Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. And
thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh, we're glad to have you here. And we're going to be talking about, climate change and all the stuff around that. It's a huge topic nowadays. Everyone's wondering about, what's happening in the world, where we're going, where we're heading. So I think this is a very interesting conversation, for the people in that sector and for everyone generally to listen to.
That's right. So, Melbourne, I will kickstart this conversation with asking you. You've had an exciting 30 years career in public service. Would you like to tell us more about this journey and what has inspired your passion, your passionate, long public service? I mean, I really like to know.
Yeah, no. I joined the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, as it was then, age 19. I studied geography, history, and government and politics at college. Yeah. And I've always enjoyed current affairs, so I was thrilled to join the Foreign Office. It's now the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. Okay. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world and to live in nearly a dozen different countries now, to experience many different cultures and to meet many interesting, brilliant, often inspiring people. My first posting in 1990 was to Maputo, Mozambique, and that began my long love affair with the African continent.
Wow, very interesting. Have you been to Nigeria? Just thinking. Have you been to Nigeria?
I hadn't. I arrived in Nigeria in August 2019. So that was my first experience of West Africa, but I've traveled extensively throughout Southern Africa and East Africa.
Great to know.
Excellent. So I'm just going to start a little war here. So I'm sure West Africa is much better than Southern Africa and all the other parts of Africa. Oh, excellent.
Of course.
But of course. So you've been in Abuja since you arrived in 2019, like you said. And you're currently heading the climate change and energy for West Africa, the British High Commission. So what does that entail? What's your day-to-day like? What fires do you have to put out, and what kind of things do you do on a daily basis in that role?
Yeah. Well, I have a background in energy, having previously worked on secondment to Shell, and I also worked in Baku and Baghdad, which are big energy producers like Nigeria. My most recent appointments was Deputy Head of Mission to Albania and Deputy High Commissioner to Zambia. I'm lucky in that I've got a fantastic team to help me on the climate change and energy portfolio. I'm really passionate about it. I mean, it's one of the defining issues of our time, and I'm not surprised you have a 30-minute slot on power solutions.
Yeah.
I mean, how we collectively deal with the consequences of climate change will be absolutely critical to achieving increased prosperity and security in the region. The key thing, I think, when starting any new job is to foster those relationships required in order to do the job well. So these relationships can be both internal, because climate change is a cross-cutting issue that affects and impacts many government departments, be that UK or Nigerian, and external, finding out what the Nigerian federal and state governments, business and civil society really think about the climate change issue, and figuring out how best to influence and partner with Nigeria to make a tangible difference on climate-related goals. 18 months into the job, I'd like to think I've established a strong network of contacts. My role has several strands to it. Climate advocacy is clearly important, and that's why I'm on your show.
Yeah.
Even more so since the UK secured COP26, the International Climate Change Conference, taking place at the end of this year. We hope that will be a defining moment to galvanize further ambition and action on climate change. I also work closely with colleagues to identify areas where we can intensify engagement with the Nigerian public and private sectors on climate change and wider environmental issues, offering technical assistance where that's appropriate.
Wow. I mean, it's really good to hear that. And in your assessment, right, how is Nigeria performing as regards energy transition and tackling climate change?
Yeah, well, it's not easy for any country to make, the clean energy transition. And I think it's doubly hard if you're a major, oil and gas producer like Nigeria. Oil and gas receipts still account for a significant portion of federal revenue.
That's right.
But Nigeria has significant renewable energy potential too, particularly solar.
Absolutely.
There are challenges with its on-grid power sector, as most of your listeners will testify. But overall, I'm encouraged by efforts to boost renewable energy here and to better mainstream climate and environmental considerations into national economic policy making and planning. The Economic Sustainability Plan, for example, has the laudable goal of expanding solar home systems to 5 million homes and 25 million people over the next few years. The UK is supporting that. And I'm hopeful that Nigeria's enhanced nationally determined contributions, i.e. their contribution to tackling climate change, which is due to be published in a few weeks' time, will further outline how Nigeria will reduce greenhouse gas emissions whilst at the same time expanding energy access, which is critically important for reducing poverty and creating jobs. I'd like to say too that Nigeria has been playing a leading role regionally and in international fora, signing up recently to the Commonwealth Clean Ocean Alliance, the Global Ocean Alliance, the UN Leaders Pledge for Nature, and the Global Plastics Action Partnership. It is also one of the few African countries to have published a gender action plan on climate change. Most of all, I'm really impressed by the enthusiasm and the energy that civil society and young Nigerians are bringing to the climate debate, demanding action, taking action, and finding their own solutions to tackling climate change and to promote and protect the environment.
Woohoo! Go Nigeria!
Well, this you call this muraka, whatever it is, but we call it shekere here, and it's a sign to say that celebrating Nigeria. Hearing that Nigeria is playing a leading role in all what you've mentioned, it's quite encouraging, I must say. And thank you for pointing that out. And that got us a bit excited in the studio here.
Definitely. It's exciting to know that, we are at the forefront of something.
Yep.
So, moving on to the next question, you mentioned something earlier about the COP26, which is the UN Climate Change Conference of the parties in Glasgow. That is scheduled for Glasgow later in the year, November to be precise. So please shed more light or more detail on the conference and how Africa stands to benefit from the conversation, because you do find sometimes with the international conversations that, Africa is sidelined pretty much, and it's the developed world, that is talking about all those things and preferring solutions and things like that. So tell us how this is going to be different from the norm.
Good question.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The COP26 summit will bring parties together to accelerate action towards the goals of the Paris Agreement and the UN Framework for Convention on Climate Change. As we approach COP26, the UK will use the power of a fair and inclusive presidency to bring not only governments, but business and civil society together to drive meaningful action across key sectors of the economy, to reduce emissions, adapt to the effects of climate change and build resilience. The benefits of tackling climate change are numerous. Cleaner air, healthier communities, sustainable economic growth, energy security, a safer, more stable climate. And we want to ensure that those countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and many of those are in Africa, are prioritised, they're listened to, and their concerns are addressed. For Africa, I think this means boosting the quantity and quality of climate finance and to boost adaptation and resilience. For unfortunately, even if the world stopped emitting greenhouse gases tomorrow, the impacts of climate change will steadily worsen for decades to come. Now, climate change is often seen through the prism of risk, and rightly so. But I should like to emphasize that Nigeria and Africa more broadly also have an unprecedented opportunity to reboot their economies in a manner that builds more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient societies. Africa can leapfrog the old polluting industries and lead a renewables revolution, creating good, sustainable jobs and prosperity for its people.
Excellent.
Wow, interesting. It's come up to 11:46, so should I say 14 minutes to the top of the hour. We have about that time to be here with our guest, and we are in Power Solutions and having a conversation on the importance of clean energy transition to meet the Paris Agreement. What is it about? Well, hold on, because my next question to my guest will maybe shed more light on what this is about. And we are having the conversation, of course, with Sean Melbourne, who is the head of Climate Change and Energy, West Africa, British High Commission. And he said a lot of beautiful things that are quite inspiring. And my next question to you, Melbourne, is that, look, how can we accelerate action towards the goals of the Paris Agreement and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and Energy Transition, all right? This doesn't seem to be like what we talk about on a daily basis in Nigeria. And could you shed more light on this?
Yeah, well, you're dead right. We must collectively all accelerate action. The science is clear. The science tells us this. To meet the goals of the Paris Agreement, we must decarbonize the global economy 3 to 5 times faster over the coming decade than we have managed over the last 2 decades. And we must also achieve a similar step change in building resilience. So for this, we need both stronger national action and stronger international collaboration focused on those practical challenges that we all share. To reduce emissions and ultimately to meet net zero greenhouse gas emissions, countries need to set clear policies like phasing out coal, protecting forests, wetlands and other carbon sinks, champion clean energy and clean transport. And to make these targets a reality, we need to go beyond pieces of paper. We need real action. Over the last year or so, I've seen more emphasis placed on ecosystem-based adaptation, i.e. putting a proper valuation on nature. I think this is important in West Africa in particular, as a large proportion of the region's emissions come from agriculture and deforestation. And yet mangroves, wetlands, floodplains and forests are also key to adaptation and resilience. I mean, Africa really matters to the climate change debate. And it's so important that, they are central to COP26. And after COP26, by the way, the next COP is in Africa. So Africa has a real opportunity to shape the climate agenda.
Africa matters. Africa matters. That should resonate in the hearts of those listening right now.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's a collective effort to address this. I mean, this conversation looks like it should not end, even though we just have 10 more minutes to go. I know Jade's got the next question.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Teke. And I'm going to take that question from something that you had mentioned earlier, Sean. You talked about, Nigeria is an oil producing country, and that's super important to our economy. And on the offshoot of that is the fact that we flare about 17.2 billion metric tons, right, of natural gas annually into the atmosphere. So this is equals to like 1/4 of the power consumption for the entire African continent. That's huge, and I do know that in recent times, the conversation has been around on, how do we harness this, and make it productive and all of that. So how do you think the issue, this particular issue will be addressed at the UN climate change? Because this is a mainstay of the Nigerian economy. So even if we're transitioning, right, to other, sources of income, this is something that's not going to go away quickly. So how do we address this at this conference?
Yeah, well, that was a very sobering statistic, indeed an appalling one that you mentioned, really. The head of the International Energy Agency, the IEA, recently said that the routine flaring of gas by producers was unacceptable, and it is. Aside from the emissions of CO2 and methane, which is a very potent greenhouse gas, flaring and venting can also release other harmful greenhouse gases such as black carbon and nitrogen dioxide. And I'm sure there's many people in the Niger Delta and in Port Harcourt, etc., that know what I'm talking about. The clean energy transition will feature prominently at COP26 because the science tells us that global transition, as I said, to clean power needs to progress at least 4 times faster than at present if we're to avoid that dangerous climate change. And Nigeria is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. So it needs to play its part. We all need to play its part. At COP26, we want to end international coal finance and strengthen the international offer of finance and assistance for clean power so that it's the most attractive option for any country. And we're delighted that Nigeria has joined the COP26 Energy Transition Council. This aims to boost investment in clean power and provide technical assistance and finance to support this. I think there's also increasing pressure from investors on energy companies to end wasteful and harmful practices such as routine gas flaring. We are urging every financial institution to join what we call is the Race to Zero, a campaign to reach zero carbon emissions and to publish and implement credible transition plans. I think the multilateral development banks and development finance
more news and
have also recently committed to align their portfolios of the Paris Agreement and to support countries to recover from COVID-19 in a green, inclusive and resilient way. But to answer your question directly, there must be a just transition.
All right.
We can't abandon people who've worked in the oil and gas industry either.
All right. Lovely. Well, we need to go on a quick break now, pick some bills. When we come back, we'll wrap up this conversation with 1 or 2 questions more to you. And just hang in there for a moment.
Too young to dream. Whoever said your business isn't what the world needs? Let your innovation take flight. With the right understanding of how to start, grow, and scale your business, you too can be transformed. The Transforming Nigeria Youths Program is brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation, Young Africa Works, in partnership with the Enterprise Development Center, Pan Atlantic University. This free program offers a step-by-step basis basics of running a successful business wherever you are.
To apply, visit reg.smetoolkit.ng/betransform. For more inquiries, please call 0909 462 1652 or 0909 924 1623 or 0809 4468117. You can send an email to youngafricaworks@pau.edu.ng.
Transforming Nigeria youths. Be transformed.
Do you have a complaint on the content of a broadcast? Are you dissatisfied with the conduct of a broadcast station? Do you feel aggrieved by any program on the radio or television? You can now lodge a complaint to the broadcast station or write directly to the Director General, National Broadcasting Commission, number 20, Ibrahim Taiwo Street, Asokoro, Abuja. You can also send us an email on info@nbc.gov.ng. Your complaint must include name of the broadcast station, title of the program, date and time of broadcast, and reason for the complaint. Do not forget to include your name, address, telephone number, email, and your signature. It is important that your complaint gets to the NBC within 14 days of the said broadcast. The National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Well, welcome back. It's the dying minutes of the conversation on power solutions right here on your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. And Jade's got the next question to our guest.
Yes, and we're not going to let Sean go without letting him tell us about some of the things that the country that is paying his salary is doing. So we're going to quickly talk about the UK and their renewable energy projects. And so right now it's outpaced the fossil fuel generation for the first time in 2020. That's huge. So please share with us what the UK, what your clean energy journey is and lessons that, Africa could potentially learn from that.
Yeah, I mean, the UK wants to lead by example at COP26. And between 1990 and 2018, the UK reduced emissions by 43%, while the economy grew 75%. So it can be done. As the UK has expanded its renewable capacity, costs have fallen to become essentially subsidy-free. To create a resilient power sector that can underpin long-term growth in Nigeria and help Nigeria meet its renewable energy targets, it too can, go on a clean energy transition. It would bring many benefits: more affordable electricity access, emissions reductions, sustainable power, a stronger, more diverse economy, reduced air pollution, cost savings versus business as usual, and all important, that job creation as well. I think there's a couple of things Nigeria can do to assist in the clean energy transition. Permanent elimination of the fuel subsidy and cost-reflective electricity tariffs and elimination of gas flaring would save the Nigerian exchequer billions of dollars, as well as burnish Nigeria's climate credentials. Those billions can be spent instead on health, on education, or anything that Nigeria deems is important. And I think legislation and regulation is key. In the UK, the 2000 Climate Change Act helped to provide a framework for climate ambition and action, and provided a signal to companies that low carbon development was worth investing in. And I think Nigeria's climate change bill could potentially have the same galvanizing effect here.
All right, great. The next question is going to be a yes or no, even though I know you'd love to explain a thing or two about it, but because of our time, I'll just ask, do you think that Africa can achieve affordable and clean energy by 2030?
Africa is made up of 54 countries, so individual countries will go at their own pace. So yes for some, unfortunately others will take a little longer.
Okay.
Do you think Nigeria is on the yes?
Yeah. Where is Nigeria?
Do you think we're on the yes?
Nigeria's going to get there.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
That's good news. That's a perfect way to end this conversation. Trust me, Melbourne, Sean, for speaking with us on the show today. We say merci. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
And yes, a lot. The next time you come here, I'll look for something to teach you in local dialect here. Would you want to do that now?
Yeah. You probably. What words do you know in Nigerian languages? I'm sure you know how to say thank you.
Not as many as I should is the answer.
Just say eshe.
Just say eshe.
I need those lessons.
Just say eshe.
But thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
It was a
Anyways, good. It was a pleasure. Of course, we're going to insist that you say eshe, because Lagosians will understand that, right?
Eshe.
Yeah. Go
Thank you so much for speaking with us. And that's where we end the show today. Thank you. Our guest has spoken well. And next week we'll have yet another interesting guest to speak with us on the show.
And Weber will be back on the show next week.
Weber will be back?
Yes, Weber will be
back.
back.
I want you, man.
My beautiful face will be gone and Weber will be back.
Weber, no, not again. Just kidding.
Thank you, Lagos, for having us on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Well, the news coming up now. Stick around. This is Nigeria's #1 for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Bye for now.
.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.